said that Russia is preparing to test Article 5. Okay, so this is the head of Germany's Federal Intelligence Service saying Russia is preparing to test the reliability of Article 5. They want to see if NATO would actually respond. Okay, and the way they're going to probably do this is attack some small area in the Baltics. And Putin launched a large-scale counteroffensive in the Kursk region of Russia against the Ukrainians as soon as the U.S. stopped sharing intelligence with Ukraine. The Russians tried to infiltrate behind Ukraine's lines through a gas pipeline the last few days, but apparently the Russian troops suffocated in the gas pipeline, and the Ukrainians are reportedly still holding their positions in the Kursk region, despite reports earlier this week that they were about to become encircled. And Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, rejected a U.S. offer on nuclear talks. Wow. And the Iranian IRGC-affiliated media claims that intelligence was just received indicating a large-scale Israeli campaign in Syria is coming in the next few days. And Israeli forces have launched a security operation in the southern Dead Sea region following reports of unusual activity near the Jordanian border. A large deployment of Israeli forces, emergency response teams, and police units is conducting a search in the area. Meanwhile, 2 Israeli Air Force combat helicopters have been dispatched to patrol the vicinity of nearby settlements. So very unusual, maybe some kind of infiltration from the Jordanian side. And China's defense minister has directed its navy to join forces with Iran and Russia for major naval drills near Iran in mid-March. So very concerning there. And Ukraine attacked an oil refinery in the Ryazan region of Russia last night. And that's in addition to a metallurgical plant in the Lipetsk region. And then there was also an attack on an oil refinery in Voronezh. And then there was also an oil depot that was hit, I believe, in Rostov. Okay, so Ukraine attacking more Russian oil infrastructure last night. And Ukrainian air defenses shot down 73 Russian drones overnight. So Russia is continuing to attack Ukraine with drone strikes every single night. And Russian forces conducted a series of missile and drone strikes against Ukrainian rear areas on the night of March 7th and March 8th. And during the day on March 8th, and Ukrainian forces notably did not shoot down any Russian ballistic missiles, indicating that Ukraine is rationing their air defenses due to the U.S. cutting off aid. And the Institute for the Study of War is now predicting that in the coming weeks, Russia will try to take advantage of the lack of American support and intelligence and equipment and conduct more large-scale missile attacks on Ukraine with the goal of depleting Ukraine's air defenses and striking strategically important targets. So we're going to see a lot more Russian missile attacks on Ukraine. They're going to take full advantage of the fact that they don't have American support anymore. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to share something that might interest you guys. So one of my friends, Avi Tenenbaum from Israel, is offering a 16-hour online Zoom course on psychological first aid. So this is basically a course on how to deal with PTSD and mental health in the event of some kind of a disaster situation. And he's very experienced in this. He's been giving these courses out for many years, and he's a very good guy. I know him personally. I would never recommend anybody that is not good. And if you use my promo code NYPrepper, you'll get 25% off of the price of this 16-hour course, which is going to be held on March 10th, March 17th, March 24th, and March 31st from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Israeli time. He provides international training to mental health and medical professionals, educators, first responders in psychological crisis response. So this is very important and very overlooked. Okay, a lot of us prepare for using tourniquets and battle dressings, but we don't think about the mental aspects. Okay, so check out Avi Tannenbaum's course. I'm going to leave a link in the description and in the comments down below, and use the promo code NYPrepper to get 25% off. And NBC News is reporting that the Trump administration won't restore military aid or intelligence sharing with Ukraine, even if they sign a minerals deal. So very interesting. And NBC also reported that the only way they would restore any kind of aid or intelligence would be if Zelensky surrenders territory to Russia and takes steps towards holding elections. And actually, they want Zelensky to step down as well. Okay, so looks like no chances for American equipment and intelligence to arrive in Ukraine anytime soon. And Iran's mission to the UN on Sunday said the Islamic Republic will never engage in negotiations aimed at dismantling its nuclear program. So Iran basically rejecting any kind of negotiations. Apparently Trump sent Iran a letter asking them to negotiate. So we'll see what happens now. But with China and Russia doing joint naval drills with Iran, I don't think Iran is really too interested in any kind of negotiations if they have the backing of China and Russia. And Israeli sources are reporting that Trump intends to travel to Saudi Arabia in 6 weeks and wants to resolve the Hamas hostage crisis by then. Apparently, direct U.S. talks with Hamas on the hostage deal are continuing, according to Ynet News. And apparently an American official acknowledged that Israel is unhappy about the direct U.S.-Hamas talks. And the Israeli energy minister ordered the suspension of electricity to Gaza. And an IRGC official stated over the weekend that True Promise 2 had some issues that we are fixing for True Promise 3. There is no doubt this operation will be carried out, but only when we get the most out of it. And if you remember, True Promise 2 was the long-delayed strike on Israel, which occurred on October the 1st, 2024, involving 200 ballistic missiles, which Iran claimed was an act of self-defense. Okay, so they're working on fixing issues. So it looks like Iran is still planning to strike Israel again in the future. And the Syrian president, Ahmad al-Sharaa, said today that the remnants of the Assad regime and external parties behind them are trying to create new strife and drag Syria into a civil war. So the last couple of days, there's been some really brutal fighting in Syria between different factions. And the Syrian president is basically saying that this is all Assad and Russia, okay, which makes a lot of sense. Okay, Russia wants to collapse the current Syrian government and regain control of Syria because they have their bases there. And it's strategically important for Russia because Russia was previously right on the border of Israel, okay, and Russia lost that position. And we know that Russia invades Israel in the end times. Okay, Russia forms an alliance with various Muslim countries, particularly Iran, and they invade Israel. So it looks like that could happen potentially in the near future. Unconfirmed reports that North Korean troops have crossed the Russian border into Ukraine, and that for the first time ever, North Korean troops are now officially in Europe. And also Russian troops crossed the border into the Sumy region in northern Ukraine, which is an area that they were ejected from shortly after the initial invasion. So this is very, very concerning. And Russia's defense ministry said that 88 Ukrainian drones were intercepted and destroyed over different regions of Russia last night. And Elon Musk wrote on Twitter last night that Ukraine's entire front line would collapse if he disabled their access to Starlink. And he also said that Ukraine will inevitably lose. He also got into an argument with the Polish foreign minister, and he called the Polish foreign minister a small man. And I want to show you guys that argument in a second here. And the UK is considering creating its own intelligence sharing group within the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance in response to recent actions and statements by the Trump administration in Ukraine. And we're hearing that the UK and Israel have reportedly stopped sharing intelligence with the US due to fears of the intelligence being somehow compromised or shared with Russia by the Trump administration. And a suicidal man from Indiana was shot a block west of the White House last night, shortly after midnight. He was armed with a gun and a knife. We don't know if he's alive or dead at this point. And this afternoon, we have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert. Here you can see 2 nuclear war command and control planes up in the air. Also, a U.S. Army VIP plane just left Washington, D.C., and last night, the U.S. used another P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter to patrol the border of Mexico. And we also had a lot of private reconnaissance in Eastern Europe last night, but interestingly, no American reconnaissance, okay? So it seems like the U.S. is cutting back its support of Europe in general, any kind of military or intelligence support. But here you can see 3 private recon planes operating in the Baltics, Poland, and Romania. And interestingly, there were 2 of them along the border of Moldova and Romania. There was also a Polish reconnaissance plane patrolling the border of Ukraine and Poland. And then there was a Polish border guard plane patrolling the northeastern border of Poland with Belarus. We know that Belarusian military forces and Russian military forces have amassed in this area, so Poland's keeping an eye on that. And then here we have the argument between the Polish foreign minister and Elon Musk. This came after Elon Musk said that he could disconnect Starlink, which would be the backbone of the Ukrainian army. Their entire front line would collapse if I turned it off. And then the Polish foreign minister reminded him that Poland paid for those Starlinks. He said Starlinks for Ukraine are paid for by the Polish digitization ministry at the cost of about $50 million per year. The ethics of threatening the victim of aggression apart, if SpaceX proves to be an unreliable provider, we will be forced to look for other suppliers. And then Elon Musk replied and said, "Be quiet, small man. You pay a tiny fraction of the cost, and there is no substitute for Starlink." So Elon Musk showing his true colors there with this nasty response to the foreign minister of a very important country, a very important ally to the United States that has sacrificed its own troops to help America in Afghanistan and Iraq, and whose general during the American Revolution actually saved George Washington's life, Casimir Pulaski. You may see a lot of towns and different places named after him, actually saved the life of George Washington. Okay, so Elon Musk is just an absolute crazy idiot who has no idea what he's talking about. But I'll be back potentially later on tonight with more breaking news, if not tomorrow. I want to let you guys know that YouTube is continuing to shadow ban a lot of different accounts, including mine, and they're also going to be revising their monetization in the coming spring. So please consider joining my Patreon. Also consider supporting me financially by checking out some of my sponsors. You can also donate to my PayPal. But YouTube is really making it hard for people like myself this year. So please try to support us as much as possible. Okay? And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com and the link is in the description below this video. They're selling their 3-month emergency food supply for just $600, so that's $100 off the normal price. And this is 3 months of food at 2,000 calories per day, has a shelf life of up to 25 years, and all of this is packed into 6 rugged water-resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. And they're also offering a disaster replacement warranty, so if your food supply gets destroyed by a natural disaster, they'll replace it for you with no charge. And they also will provide you with free survival books and information, including a natural disaster field guide, a survival Bible digital copy. So use the link preparewithnYPrepper.com to get $100 off the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video.